What's good people, it's JayCactus back again with another tutorial by request. So last week when I did the 10-minute drill beat challenge with stock plugins, there was a beat playing in the background and someone commented saying that the beat was insane and they wanted to see a breakdown of it. So that beat was actually produced by myself and DJ SMALLZ 732. And if you don't know who that is, he's a sick producer and DJ, and he's the creator of the viral hit We Are Young remix. So I'll put a link to that in the description if you haven't heard it. It's on like 20 million views right now, it's mad. But we teamed up and we're actually hosting a competition right now for rappers. So that's over on my Instagram, which is at JayCactus Music. So I thought, you know, it'd be sick to show you the breakdown of the beat. And then if you know any rappers, then tag them in my Instagram post because I'm gonna do a giveaway next week. So all you have to do is head to my Instagram, which is at JayCactus Music, tag one of your rapper friends if you know one, and then next Tuesday, I'll announce a winner who will get a free drum kit. But let's get straight into it. All right, so just in case you haven't heard the beat, I'm gonna play it now and then I'll break everything down for you. So the melody was sent to me from DJ SMALLZ, and this just set the whole mood.
JayCactus.
It's definitely got like a Chef G, Brooklyn drill kind of vibe. Verses here. So I won't play the full beat. If you want to listen to the full one, there's a link to it in the description. But let me take off all the effects and I'll show you exactly what I did with it. So as I said, DJ SMALLZ 732, he sent me the melody. We've been working on quite a few different things at the moment. We've made like 3 beats together already. So I've sent him some melodies, he's produced tracks with them. He sent me some melodies and I've produced tracks like this. So the melody started off like this. It's just a sick melody, man. It set the whole mood for the track. Instantly I got that Chef G kind of feel, so that's why I wanted to make it bouncy drill kind of beat. So in the melody, let me put the effects back on. I played with halftime, but I didn't really like how it sounded after, so I ignored that. And then in the EQ, I took out some lows and dipped some of the low mids as well. I did that later on because I was finding that the 808 was still clashing with it. And then I took out some highs too, so I'll show you what that sounds like now. This is before. After.
You're killing me, SMALLZ.
So you can hear it does sound a bit thinner, but I was just saving a lot of room for the 808s because you heard in the track that the 808s go hard, so I needed that space for them. Isotope vinyl, I didn't end up using this. You can see all the settings are just on normal. And then with the imager, I just use this to widen the sound, so I even spread the lows a little bit, and I don't normally do that. But I'll show you what it sounds like.
JayCactus.
So this is before. And then after. So especially if you're listening in headphones, you'll just see how wider that sound gets. And then gross beat, I use that in the automation, which I'll show you in a bit. And then this is just a plugin you can use to find the scale of the song or the key, but it doesn't usually work. Like when I used it this time, it didn't work right, so I wouldn't even recommend it, to be honest. So then once I had the melody going and I'd EQ'd it and widened the sound a little, I think the first thing that I added then was the clap and the snare. So you can hear that I actually pitched it up as well, and I pitched it up 700 cents, which is 7 semitones. So usually when I'm pitching things, I'll only really pitch it up like a full octave, because when I'm using both of them, if you pitch it up a full octave, then it's going to be in the same key, but if you do it anything else, it's going to be in a different key. So for this one, I'm actually changing the key in the hook of the song, but with the notes that I used in the bass, or the 808, it still sounded right. So basically the notes that I used in the bass still fit both scales. So I don't normally do that, but if it sounds good, it sounds good, so there's no rules in music, so that's why I've done it here. So you can see it was just at the normal key in the intro, and then when the hook comes in, So I've got a snare laid with a clap. And then in the hi-hats, this is the next thing I added. Just wanted a good bounce. So you can see I played with the velocity quite a bit. I got like a sick drill bounce with it, brought some of the notes down. Right, so then from here, I think I added the open hat. Quite simple. And then from here, I think I went straight to the 808. I think I did the perk after. So for the 808, so these notes here, that's just before the drop into the verse. So that's not the pattern all the way through. So I'll show you how the pattern changes. But what I did there, and especially laid with the kick and gross beat, I'll just show you that now. So the perk was added too. Again, quite simple. And then, like I was saying with the drop, so here you can see I've got gross beat automated. So let me show you what that looks like. So I've just used the 1 beat gate setting, and then all I did there, if you've seen my automation tutorial, you'll know how to do this, but all I did was right click that and then copied the value. I created an automation clip as well with the volume settings, and then I pasted the value in here. So just on this one point, it's going to play that preset, or it's going to use that preset in gross beat. And that just sounds sick before I drop. So before I let that drop, I'll just talk you through everything else that I've used. I just used a standard drill crash, and then I reversed one of them so it could act as a riser and then coming in. So just like that. A few crashes in there. And then it drops back down into the verse. So in the verse, I've got a bit of a different hi-hat pattern. Because it's so fast in the hook, I wanted to slow things down a little bit for the verse. So you can hear this now. Just a real simple hi-hat pattern to start with. Just because there was so much going on in the hook, I just wanted to break it down a little bit. And then for mixing, let's see what I did. I'll turn everything back on. So for the 808, I did add some Camel Crusher at first, but I didn't end up sticking with it. It sounded a bit too distorted. I don't always sidechain my kick to the 808. Like recently, I haven't been doing it much at all, but for this track in particular, I felt like it needed it. So I've got the kick sidechained to the 808. You'll be able to see it. So every time the kick's hitting the 808, it's ducking. But I don't like to do that all the time because it does take away some of the punch from the 808. So I tried to leave that off, but I felt like in this track it did need it. So EQ, I took out some highs because there was like a buzzing sound in the 808, so I removed that with an EQ. And then, I don't know why an image is there because I didn't use that. So on the kick, there's a peak controller here and an EQ, just because I wanted to try a different way of sidechaining. So I wanted to see where my kick was hitting, which is around about here, around about 60 Hertz. And then I used the peak controller to link that to the 808. So I'll show you what the two different sidechains sound like. You can't really notice the difference, but I went with the standard one for this track. So if I was going to do it with the peak controller and the EQ, it's only going to duck that frequency range where the kick's hitting. So that's like a cleaner way you can do your sidechaining. But if you want a heavier one, then just use the limiter, and that will kind of duck everything out instead of just that one frequency range. So either's fine, it just depends on the track. So then didn't do anything to the hi-hats. In the snare, I usually boost some of the highs, but because I've laid it with a clap, I actually brought down some of the highs, which you can see here, just to save room for that clap. and then boosted that same area in the clap. So in the snare, I've reduced it, but then in the clap, boosted it. And then I took out some lows from the clap as well, because there were a lot of sub-frequencies that you can't hear and you just don't really need them. They're just going to interfere with the bass. And the perk didn't do anything. Open hat was fine too. And then in the crash, I just took out some lows which weren't needed. And then I didn't end up using the imager either. So you can see there's not actually a lot of effects. Even with the leveling, I tend to do the leveling from here. Just because the way FL works, the volume will start either in the sound itself or from the channel rack, and then that sound is transferred into the mixer channel here. So the idea is to get the cleanest signal possible and the cleanest level possible before it goes into the mixer channel, because then you've got less work to do in here. So it just makes things a lot cleaner and easier. So that's what I tend to do. So that's why things aren't leveled, or they look like they aren't leveled here, but they are really, because I've just used my ear and kind of just used the channel rack here. So let me play this again. So from the verse, the hi-hats pick up again here. I think I need the delay on there. I like to do little subtle things like this. So you heard that little laugh there. I like to add nice little breaks, so you can see here, we're still in the verse, but I'm just chopping things out just to add variation. And then I've added this laugh here. Just to make it a bit more interesting, and it felt like a bouncy beat, so a laugh just kind of fit in perfectly. And this is the other thing, a reverse kick. So if you've seen my other tutorials, you'll know that sometimes I do use reverse kicks just to build up some energy, as you can see here.
JayCactus.
So same again, just before it drops into the hook, I've got that same gross beat automation going, and then I change the kick pattern and the 808 pattern just so it hits exactly when the melody hits.
JayCactus.
So everything drops back out, and then the hi-hats come back in with the snare. And then we get the same thing again pretty much, but then at the end, just to make it a bit more interesting, I've added automation from the tempo. So everything comes back in, but I've dropped the tempo down, so you'll hear what that sounds like now. So it's just a different way to end your track rather than just the normal fade out that everyone does. So the tempo is bringing everything down. It just sounds sick. And then I added some 808s that sound like they're fading out here. So it's just a different way to end the track. You can see that I've played with the velocity, and you could hear that I've played with the panning as well. So these 808 slides are just gradually coming out, and it sounds like it's fading the track out. Right? And then I think the only thing that I missed was just some vocal laughs, like here. So this is a vocal that I took from SMALLZ. Right? But I only wanted to use one little part.
JayCactus.
And you can hear I've got some reverb on there, some delay. The EQ, I didn't actually change the EQ, but I added quite a lot of reverb, some delay, and then a little alt void just to bring up the pitch and then blend that in. And then same again here. Just to add something different. And then that's pretty much much it for the beat. I didn't go too crazy with this one. The only thing I've got on the master is a soft clipper. I tend not to master my beats because I always know that I'm trying to get artists on these beats and I don't need to go overboard with the mastering. I just like to make my mixes as clean as possible and then have a soft clipper on just to drive the kick into it to get that punch. And then if an artist is going to get on it, then we can worry about mastering then. The other plugin that you're seeing here is from iZotope. It's tonal balance control. So this definitely helps you with your mixing because it will give you an idea of where you need to be in terms of the frequency range. So you can see like this is the low range, low mids, and high. And you can change the preset so you can have it on modern or bass heavy. So obviously this one will be bass heavy. And this will give you a general idea of where each range should be hitting. So let me just play my beat and you'll see how I compare to it. So I'm quite high in the bass, but I'm fine with that. Everything else is about right. So looking at that, for example, if the highs were below average, then I could maybe boost some of the highs in the hi-hat and the clap just to bring it back up, or in the melody. Just play with different things. Don't use that as like a strict thing that you need to follow, but it does help with like basic guidelines because they must have analyzed like thousands of famous songs just to get an overall average of where certain tracks should be hitting in the frequency range. So this is a good tool to use, definitely. So I hope you like the video and I hope you're feeling the beat. It's a bit different to my usual ones because I'll usually show you the full process of when I'm producing something, but in a previous video one of my subscribers asked me to break down this beat, so I thought now's a perfect opportunity because it's the beat that we're using for hosting the competition on Instagram. So all I want you guys to do is head over to my Instagram, which is at JayCactus Music, and then in the recent post where I've outlined the details for the Swerving Freestyle Contest, which I'm hosting with DJ SMALLZ, just tag a rapper that you know or tag a rapper that you think would kill the contest, and then next Tuesday I'll select a random person from the comments and give you my drum kit 100% free. So I'll see you next time.